Hello? Hey,
Landon!
how you doing?
Hey!
Great,
Good,
how are
good.
you?
Watching the stream, super fun.
Good. Nice! So, that's the full version of the spot. I think Adult Swim's going to release it at some point.
I freaking hope so.
But let's see. It's pretty great, though, right?
So good. Fuck. The version that I saw, like, I think you guys did a ton of editing on it, because, like, that one was the shiniest version I've ever seen.
Yeah, we did.
All the finishing touches.
Yeah, all the finishing touches. So we're ready. It's ready to go whenever they want to put it out there. So let's talk about stuff, and then we'll talk about let's talk about the spot, and then we'll talk about your game releasing and kind of the ups and downs and the experience you've had, and then we're gonna play the shit out of the game while you get back to work because you have a lot of work.
Cool. Sounds good.
Cool. So let's talk first about the spot. How did that go for you? Tell us your experience of the spot, and then we'll jump in because we were all there as well. But it'd be cool to hear from your perspective what it was like.
Well, from my perspective, it was like I knew, I didn't know what to expect. I came down to Seattle. You guys had found a cool spot, and I saw pictures and stuff of it. But when I got there, it was just incredibly cool spot, a lot cooler than I thought. So I get there, everyone's walking around practicing. They've all got this fancy duck masks on. It was the first time I'd actually seen the duck masks close, and they were just really nice. Whoever the girl who made them, she was really good.
Yeah. So we were shooting at a place called Gasworks Park, which is a famous park in Seattle. There's a film. What film was it that famously had a paintball scene there?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there was a rom-com had a paintball scene.
Singles or something.
Yeah, it was weird. Anyway, we thought it was cool because it has a lot of varied environments. So does Duck Game, right? So it has a grassy outside with weird concrete pillars in it. It has a big machine room thing with color. It was very colorful, and it had the sort of the fiery, cagey areas. So we thought it'd be really neat to exploit those different environments, since the game has a bunch of different environments. We did break laws in the game. In the game, you in a round you play until you're dead and then you don't come back. In ours, that wouldn't make for a very interesting commercial because they'd all shoot each other to death and then you'd wait and then respawn and then you'd do it again. Whereas we kind of made it more fluid. So we made it feel like in our version of Duck Game, when you died, you had a few seconds.
I think it got the feel really well though, because you guys were still switching environments up a lot, and even with the respawn, it's in the game the same level will come up multiple times, and the whole game is right. It's quick enough that you die and you respawn and you die and you respawn, even though you don't come back in the same level.
Right. Yeah. Totally. Also, in the full game or the real game, there's or the game, I guess. The characters aren't wearing masks, but in fact are actual ducks. Whereas we went with the idea of, since we wanted people to be able to run around and be agile and whatever, we thought the best thing to do would be to give them duck faces
versus being full on.
Versus being
people in duck,
people in duck costumes. That would have just been complicated, super costly.
It'd be funny to just watch them try to run fast and trip and fall.
But then that joke only lasts for so long, and we thought we could get this sort of energy out.
I mean, could have done real ducks too, but that would have been an entirely different commercial altogether.
An interesting note is we actually have a whole bunch of B-roll of real ducks. There were real ducks on the day. Normally, apparently, there aren't many ducks there. There are a bunch of swans, but apparently the swans keep the ducks out of it. But for some reason, a whole bunch of ducks showed up. We took a bunch of footage of them. So we tried to find places to cut duck footage in there just for a funny cut to. But it didn't. Everything was so fast, it didn't work.
You've used pigeons before.
But we do have. Yeah, we have used pigeons. We do have actual ducks though that we've got.
Yeah, I wish some of them would have been in the background of shots and stuff, just randomly. But they weren't cooperating like that.
Yeah. They weren't jumping around shooting each other with fake guns.
I got the duck wrangler.
Yeah. What's interesting, if you watch the commercials, even the 30-second one, when she fires her gun, they actually make a motion. The guns had action on them. The AK-47 did the same thing. They were actually gas-powered blank shooting. Some of the blank shooting, but we never shot any blanks. But they were gas-powered prop guns, and they were really, really cool to shoot with. The sniper rifle was especially cool. It was made out of actual metal and felt really cool.
Nice.
And S-Man, you should, and you can on Steam. Do it.
Yeah.
And this man, what?
He says that he needs to pick up.
Yeah, you do need to pick up a copy of Duck Game. You should do it right now. We'll wait. We'll wait for you.
We can
pause it.
$9.99.
It's $9.99 right now. So you should check it out. So, Landon, we got to, you showed up and you saw some cool stuff. It was pretty neat. Continue.
Yeah. So
epic
how you were saying
tale.
like the varying scenes thing, I was surprised like in the outside part too, like right before the really cool close-up battle at the very end, like the finale. That place where he jumps down from like the triangle windows, I think has like a real sort of like office building vibe to it, like a fancy outside of an office thing. So I feel like we even got like the office vibe going with that space, like everything there, and just everybody like cooperating. You guys had a bunch of dudes who were like super good at parkour stuff, just jumping off stuff. They actually the scene with like the guy with the AK-47, they had him in a harness and they were like pulling him across the ground for the slide shot and actually like shooting the wall in real time, like with the paintball gun, which was like, I mean, you never really think about how they do scenes like that, right? And then like actually being there, dawned on them like they know how it all works, and so they set it up, and it's always surprising to see like how they pull off different things.
Cool, man. Yeah, so that guy, he was a stunt dude. His name was Ryan, and we did have him in a harness, and we pulled him along the way. And as he shot the AK, which had its own action, so it looked like he was firing. As Landon was saying, we had a special effects guy hidden behind one of the pillars, firing actual spark shots up at the concrete pillar that the guy with the sniper rifle was on. So it looked, you put those two things together, and the guy looks like he's shooting a guy. That's pretty cool. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, it was.
So overall, you're happy with the shot,
Man,
the spot then?
Like I can't even believe you asked that because it's just so freaking good.
That's so cool. That's really neat. Thanks, man. So you've just released your game. That's amazing. Congratulations. Also, NS-Man just bought your game.
NS-Man, thank you. You're the best.
So
I love you.
Yeah. So how does it feel, man? Like we're gonna be doing this soon. Well, soon is relative, but we're going to be doing this at some point. It'd be really neat to hear your experience.
Well, I was a bit prepared because I had done game releases before. The most like personally involved one I've done was when Super Puzzle Platformer came out. I did the music on that, but I did a lot of the post-release help with that and like Steam integration stuff, and that was super stressful because like it's this scary, overwhelming combination, right? Where it comes out and there's a bunch of people saying like, oh, it doesn't run on my computer because of this issue or that issue or something you like might have forgotten. And then everybody else is saying like, oh, this is great, and they're streaming it and they've got videos up and they're like messaging you and talking to you about how much they like the game, and it's like this
Mm-hmm.
combination of like really good and really scary where you're just kind of like overwhelmed with emotion over it, I think.
And let's remind the people, you're the single developer of this game, right? Like, this is just you.
Yeah, so like at least with Super Puzzle when it came out, like me and Andrew were both working on that, and like if there was serious problems, me and him could be like bashing away at them at the same time. But like with this too, just like it's all the work up to release, like the code just got scarier and scarier, and then the game comes out and it's like, well, now I have to like fix all this stuff and it takes forever to fix, and I'm actually incredibly surprised. People, like, I was convinced that the game was just like too broken when it came out because I was completely blinded just by all the problems that I knew it had.
Yeah, you only ever see the issues when you make art like that. Like when you're in it, all you can see is the little problems. As a filmmaker, every film that I make, I look at and just all I see is like, I hope they don't see how shitty this is. And I know that when I sat down or I showed Mariah a piece that she was recently in that we did together, her response was, I like it because I don't hate myself as much as I normally do. Like that's kind of what you see is the sort of the issues. So I can imagine with some public recognition of there being issues, that's got to be really.
It's a bit of a curse,
like, hard.
Because I feel like you can't make having that happen, and you're definitely gonna like if somebody says something that you knew was wrong with it. Then, like, that's just confirmation. And they could be the only person who noticed, but you'll just be like, I knew it. People were going to notice, and they did, and everyone hates it. They must hate it.
Yeah. But obviously not. That's not the case with Duck Game. Everybody that I've talked to who's played it completely loves it. I obviously love it. We all love it here. We're going to play the hell out of it tonight. I loved it even when it was on the Ouya, which is a far limited, like a super limited version. It's like the mobile phone of 1998 version of Duck Game. So it's going to be super excited.
There was a couple friends over to my place for dinner, people I didn't even know that like gamed or anything, but it was just after we saw that the Duck Game commercial was went up online for Adult Swim games, and so I pulled it up and showed it to them, and like they actually almost weren't even. She was just like they were both like, oh my god, this is fucking awesome, and then at the end they were like, it's on Steam.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, you know about Steam? Like, fuck yeah.
Yes.
So they were like both going to get the game that day.
That's awesome.
I find that funny actually
cool.
because like every time I go home, when I talk to my parents and people back home, like a lot of people don't know what Steam is. Like I'll say, yeah, my game's going up on Steam, and they'll be like, is that good? Like what does that mean?
Is that like going up in flames?
Yeah, I've had a very similar experience. I'm talking to some producers in Los Angeles about some work. And they're like, so, what's your acumen or whatever? I'm like, well, Motivational Growth is the first narrative feature film ever to show on Steam. And it's just fucking crickets. It's like, I'm like, guys, this is the largest digital distribution system on the planet.
You're projecting it onto Steam? Like,
yeah, like, so how much Steam do you need? Like, how do you heat the Steam?
It's worth mentioning. It must be an impressive
cool.
amount of Steam.
Yeah. So your publisher's Adult Swim Games, which they if I remember correctly, they treated you pretty well at PAX South or PAX East this year. I remember you had a nice section of booth, and they were always like supporting it. How was your experience with Adult Swim been?
Well, let's start with the PAX thing. That blew my mind. Like, just I guess I came to them at GDC when it was on the Ouya, like way back, because I'd worked with them for Super Puzzle, and I thought, it'd be cool, like, to be able to get onto Steam with this. PAX was the first time where I was really there with something they had set up, and they had a big screen TV that was like bigger than any of the other screens they had, just like sticking out towards people the whole time, and it had Duck Game on it, and it was like I couldn't believe it. I was blown away that my game would get something like that. Like I figured it's gonna be like every other game, right? And they've been just super awesome, like in every aspect. They've been super helpful. They help me test. They help me play it. They give me suggestions, and like just sort of like every time I'm having trouble, I talk to them. And if the game's like not where it needs to be and things like that, like it was supposed to come out in February, but the online turned out to be a ridiculous, impossible like challenge, and the release got pushed over and over again. But like they let it happen a lot, and I can't thank them enough for that, because some publishers would just be like, you said this day, it's coming out whether it's done or not, and if it's broken and everyone hates you, it's your fault.
Yeah. No, that's super incredible. I'm glad that you found a cool partner for the game.
I think that speaks volumes of your game.
Yeah. Yeah, that they trust you so much with it. And I mean, the game, look, I know you're in it, but the game is a great game. Like, it's not a good game, it's a great game. And I've heard a lot of people say that it's one of the best multiplayer games they've ever played. And that's a lot. I mean, there's a ton of multiplayer games. So, like, don't sell yourself short. Still be, like, nervous and make sure all the bugs get fixed and, like, be the artist. But recognize that you do have a thing, like a real thing.
Thank you, John.
It's a big deal. Yeah, that's true. That's cool. We didn't. I remember meeting you at IndieCade, and having played Duck Game, I was really, really excited to talk to you. Although we had that weird IndieCade meeting, but
yeah, it was in my mind. I remember it almost like I was hammered.
Really? Like it's this weird, like phasey, like what the fuck was that? But I remember like wanting to meet the guy who made Duck Game, which was, you know what I mean? I'm saying like before you went with Adult Swim and before we found out that. Just so you guys know, out in Starr Mazer TV land, we didn't meet with Landon explicitly to say we wanted to. I mean, I met with Landon a year previous and said I'd love to do the commercial for your game because I really love your game, and that was like the Ouya version, which again is not like the cool. It's a fine version if you have an Ouya and you got the game. It's great, good job. But there was another year of development, so. But I remember meeting him, and we didn't know how we would ever do it, or if we could ever do it, or whatever. And then completely separately later, Adult Swim came to Imagos, because we do a lot of commercials for them, and said, "Do you want it? We were gonna assign you this game called Duck Game." And we were like, "Oh my God, yes, we want that." So we looped back with Landon, and it was pretty neat. But I remember how awesome it was that I finally like things just like worked out so that we could make it happen, because it is such a cool game and it is such a cool opportunity.
Yeah,
for,
dude,
for all
like
parties.
at IndieCade, I don't think you realize like how much I was fanboying out. Like when you came up and said that you were the guy who like worked on all these trailers for the indie games that I've seen before, like that just, I didn't know what to say at that point. I was speechless because it's like, holy crap, like these things that my game will never hope to have. Now the person in charge of getting them together is talking to me about maybe doing one for mine.
It's so funny because I have a completely different view, which is like this auteur indie developer who single-handedly made Duck Game is here seeming like he fucking doesn't want to talk to me.
I don't ever like indie developers until I've met them or like seen them on streams and things like
Right.
that, because like a lot of them
Right,
are really
yeah.
really rude or just sort of like reserved, or like I'm always surprised when I meet a really nice indie developer. Usually they're either local or like when you go to places like IndieCade, actually it's really surprising. Like I expected the same thing, like everyone at IndieCade would be some artur and I wouldn't want to hang out with them, but they were all
Yeah.
super cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Sometimes you meet the guy who's kind of like, yeah, I did this thing, and it's like, yeah, but that thing sucks. Why are you?
Yeah,
so
you get
cool?
that, especially if
That's so
they've
cool.
like, if they're big shit, like they've been talking to people all day and they've done a million things today, right? Like I've had a lot of that where I say, oh man, it's you. I love your game. It's awesome. I play it every day, and they'll just be like, okay.
Wow, dick mode.
Yeah.
Well, what's cool is whatever the fates or whatever. Now we're friends. We hang out. I think you spent the night at my place on
Yeah,
at least one
I did.
occasion.
That was the night of the filming, I think.
Then the filming, yeah, you stayed the night and then we went early in the morning. Yeah, it's all very good. That's pretty cool, man. So I've been waiting for questions. I don't see many questions. What else you want to talk about for Duck Game before we start playing?
There's 2 questions up.
Oh, there are 2 questions up.
Yeah.
What are the 2 questions?
One from Cerberus says, any future content updates planned?
Okay, so Cerberus wants to know if there's any future content or updates planned.
Okay,
for Duck Game.
that's a good question. I have so many planned. Like I mean, if it was up to me and I didn't have a responsible publisher telling me like how to do it properly, the game probably wouldn't have come out for another year, and I would have just polished everything ridiculously, added everything I ever wanted to it, and whatnot. But since we're being responsible and actually letting people play the game instead of me just like working on it forever, there's a lot of stuff that I want to add that isn't in yet. Like namely, workshop support. People should be able to make levels in the editor and play them online, and like
Nice.
have a mode where you just play random workshop levels and rate them, because I think that would be incredible to just sort of have this random what the heck kind of level is this experience. I would love that,
awesome.
and it's not that hard to do. Like I could probably get that in real quick, so that's up on the list.
Cool.
The other thing up on the list is you can't actually play with local players online right now, so you can't have 2 people on a couch playing with 2 people online, which is like
Right.
I really want that to happen. It's important, I think, because like this is a local multiplayer game at heart. So if you've got 3 people and you want to get a 4th person from the internet in, like you should be able
Totally,
to.
yeah. No, that to me that would finish the game, quote unquote. You know, that would make it what it should always be. I think it is a local game. I mean, that's the best time you have. So you sitting on the couch, you should be able to sit on the couch alone and play with a bunch of people online. That should be cool. But mostly, I don't think I've ever. This is gonna sound weird, I guess. I've never considered playing Duck Game when I didn't have 3 other people that I, you know what I mean? I never thought like, you know, it'd be cool playing Duck Game. Oh, I gotta round up people. It was always like, I got 3 people. We should play Duck Game. Like that's like a cool thing to do. So yeah, I totally agree with that. The other question was mod support. Do you have any plans for mod
Well,
support?
workshop's the first step in that. I'm gonna get that together with the levels, see how that goes. Try to get like an in-game interface for browsing them and uploading them.
Yeah.
After that, though, like the game's written in C#, so mod support is pretty much just like instead of making an EXE, you make a DLL, and then people just do whatever they want with
Yeah.
it. They could just say, make a gun here, shoot the gun, make the gun have this kind of bullets. Like I definitely want to open it up for mod support because I think people could do some really
Nice.
fun stuff with it.
Agreed, and I think modding is a super important portion of the life cycle of every game. This cat is climbing over everything.
Just kind of making the rounds.
So there's a not related question from Clovis15. He says, Don, have you seen David Sandberg's Kung Fury yet? It released 2 Thursdays ago and is an amazing 30-minute action comedy tribute to the 80s cinema that can legally be watched for free on YouTube. Yes, I have, and I hate it. And I'm sorry to be the guy who hates it, but I do. Two important notes. First off, it's not 80'S, it's apostrophe 80S. It's a plural. Number one, and number two, it's a fucking tear down of things that really good artists tried really hard to do. When you look at a movie from the 80s, and if you're like younger than 35 or something, you don't get this, I don't think. But if you look at a movie, watch Cyborg, Jean-Claude Van Damme's Cyborg. That's 100 people spent 45 days trying to make the best movie they could. It wasn't the best movie ever made, but it was people struggling and pushing to make something really, really good to entertain people.
Really cool.
All of those 80s movies were that. They tried really hard. And no, they're not all of them are the best movies. Some of them are Blade Runner. Some of them aren't Blade Runner. They worked really hard. It was love, it was art, and when you got a bunch of 22-year-olds just making fun of old shit, you lose the magic. Yes, it has all the things. It has the tropes, the crazy whatever, but they're not coming from the same place. They're put-ons, they're jokes. They're making fun of a world where somebody would think it would be cool to have a skateboard that could fly, or like a Viking lady coming out of the thunder.
Dinosaur.
Like that would be. There are movies that did that honestly. They tried really hard. I'm a filmmaker who has those ideas. When I write a film or I write a game, I'm not writing jokes. I'm not making fun of being creative. And when you watch Kung Fury, I don't see people being creative. I see closed minds making fun of people being creative. And I don't think that's cool, man. If you watch the movie The FP, Jason Tross, The FP, that's a movie that it's funny and has jokes in it, but it's trying to be creative. It's cheesy, and it's a game about competitive, like murderously competitive DDR in a post-apocalyptic future, but it has creativity behind it. They're trying to tell a cool story. They're not just trying to make fun of some shit. So that's what I was getting at. I apologize.
The only thing that I will add to that is the only arts that the VFX and the entire thing is green screen, like 98% of it. So someone did put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into that.
Yeah.
But the story itself.
This is where I'm going to diverge. I'm going to do the normal Don response and then the hideously joking Don response. I found that a lot of people don't understand that sometimes Don responses are hideously joking and they think that I'm just crazy. Here's the normal Don response. You're totally right, and that person did a great job making that look and feel. Totally right. I think the sentiment is what sucked.
Yeah,
so that's the normal, realistic Don response. Here's the joking Don response. The Nazis spent a really long time making those posters. It doesn't make them awesome. Do you know what I'm saying? I did what is it, rule 41 or whatever, where like all conversations eventually become about Nazis. Like that was the all internet conversation.
So you're saying
Anyway,
if you work really hard on something that's stupid, then it's not good just because you worked really
There
hard.
was a question from Floatbase.
yeah, no, I totally, and that's I am saying that. Honestly, Cyborg isn't the best movie, but when you watch it, you can see that people thought it was going to be. Somebody.
There's Howard the Duck, just for a little tie-in here, but
What
I
about it?
fucking love that movie.
Howard the Duck is a terrible movie. It's also a movie that thinks it's going to be a good movie.
Right.
And you watch it, and they tried really hard. And the Howard animatronic was awesome. Like, it looked like a duck talking. I never masturbated to play duck. It never happened.
Nope.
But I don't like it's not enough to
more
take
turned on
somebody's
by
blood, sweat, and
bathing
tears and make
duck.
fun of it, even if it took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to make fun of it. It feels like bullying to me. And maybe it's because I'm 35 and I'm old and I don't get how cool it is to make fun of some old
Man,
shit. But
Don, on that note, like what you said, I totally get it. It's like a perspective I've never heard before. That's kind of how I think of like Retro City Rampage. Like that game just
Really?
always felt like sort of a look. It's pixel graphics, it's pixely stuff, pixel music, and we're like making fun of a whole bunch of dumb shit from like back in the past. And it's GTA, but it's like on NES, and it always felt ingenuine to me. It felt like more of a market than a I want to make a good like old game because I love them.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a fair assessment. I've actually, it's funny because you and I normally have very similar opinions about stuff, and I think that's a really thought out. I'd never considered that. When I played Retro City Rampage, I felt that the references were speaking to me in like a thumbs up way. I didn't feel like he was making fun of it so much as paying homage or like 'cause some of the references are just straight on the nose. Like you're just in this level now, or like you used to. But it never felt cynical to me. It never felt like isn't this dumb thing funny? It was more like, do you remember this? Because I do, and that was. I think we're kind of actually trying to hit that with Starr Mazer. Our Imago Softworks tagline is nostalgia in HD, right? And the point is, we're trying to evoke something that we thought was brilliant. And I wonder if to me, I got a different feeling than you did for Retro City Rampage.
Like I might have just gotten a bad impression from it because like I played it way late, like after I'd heard about it a ton, and finally like on Steam it came out and I was like, this looks really cool. I should just play it already. And like the impression I got at the first was just like everything's happening so fast. There's just a million things going on before you get into the game, and like I'm pretty sure at some point some like meme dude popped into the corner of the game and said something witty about something that happened as like sort of a quick haha joke, and I think that's what like started me on the what kind of thing is this.
Yeah, no, I get you, and I have to admit. The issue that I had with that particular game was that I did get some burnout, like you did. Like I recognized that I didn't get half of the shit that was being mentioned, and everything you did had some kind of joke in it or some kind of tie-in, and I just didn't think I liked that particular the density.
Yeah, that's
there.
What hurt me for
but,
sure. It just does not stop.
Yeah.
It goes and goes and goes.
No, right. But I think that what's interesting about it, or what differentiates it from something like Kung Fury, for me at least, is that it didn't feel cynical, and I don't.
Well, I mean, like I guess like the art was good in it, and they hired like good chip musicians who I respect. So
yeah, totally. But I feel like the content was so on the nose fakery. You know, it was so like, guys, do you remember how dumb it was when movies did this thing? And those are the movies that made me want to make movies.
Right.
You know, those fantasy, like crazy, like Dr. Mordred or.
But to 20-year-olds, it's like, God, you see how shitty things were in the 80s.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, but I think that's like exactly what you're talking about, because when we did Jewel Crush, or what the heck was? No, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of Candy Crush mixed with whatever the game was that we played. But the gal, the designer, she was like 19, 20.
Yeah.
And she was just like, I love the 80s, and you were like, how do you love the 80s?
Yeah, you weren't
in
born.
Like 1985.
How do you love the 80s? You didn't. That's
yeah,
like me
so
saying I love
and I think that's the thing. It's like whenever there's something that is dear to anybody's heart, and then other people take it because of the fad that it is, and then they don't get all of it, and they'll say like, well, I love it, but they're really just like plucking off the surface of it, basically, and not knowing what's deeper that I think becomes offensive.
Yeah, you can swing the pendulum in the other direction.
It's no sweat, Clovis.
Yeah.
It's all good, man.
Clovis, this is just IMHO.
The trailer
man.
and the Kickstarter, like, I was all about it.
Yeah,
then
the trailer was
I sat down
cool.
to watch it, and I was just like...
It just was, too much. Dude, the reason we are cool, people are cool, is that we have multiple opinions. He says, of course, I also like many 80s films, but so do I. I grew up with those films. That's why I don't like it. But that we can have differing opinions. That's fine. If you swing the pendulum in the entirely other direction, that Tom Cruise movie,
Legend?
No, come on. That's
like always
a
like
beautiful
the go-to.
movie.
Yeah,
Come on.
Shitty
Oh, you're
Tom
talking
Cruise?
about
No, it was by the Tron guy. The one where it's Tom Cruise as a clone of himself, but nobody cares.
Oblivion.
What?
Oblivion.
Oblivion was all of the shitty 80s tropes, like the things that made 80s movies crappy, thrown into a really expensive, really shiny movie. And with no, like, recognition that these things don't work. And just, like, all thrown into one big shiny pot, and it was very, very lame.
Tom Cruise in his shirt off and still
So,
running.
yeah. Back to Duck Game.
Dash
There was a
Morgan.
question about Duck Game that whizzed past, which was, are you getting any pushback, Landon, in the forums about how difficult it is to get some of the achievements or unlockables? Like the arcade stuff?
Yeah, I am a bit like you should have seen the challenge mode before because like in the week before release, my roommate actually was helping me with that, and he played through the challenge mode like 4 or 5 times, and I completely based the difficulty based around that because I could get platinum on everything, but there was a ton of challenges where he'd be like, I've been playing these all day, I got platinum on this one and gold on this one, but like I'm never gonna get gold in this one and never gonna get platinum on this one, so like it's already been toned down a lot, and I think the main issue is that it's too hard to unlock machines right now. Like there's a lot of machines that require you to have like gold or better on too many machines, and there's a hat that you can get, like a special, the last hat that you can get in the game thing, where you need to get like platinum on every single challenge to get it, and like I think I might change that to gold, and then maybe have some secret hidden hat for all platinum, because people are having a really hard time with all platinum, and like I had a lot of fun trying to get all platinum on everything, but like some people.
You also made the game? That's your
Yeah,
game,
that's
you
just
made
it. And like I'm quite good at the challenges.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's cool. On a side note, Clovis15 says he does respect my opinion and understands that as a creator, Kung Fury's humor hit me in a bad way, but since I deeply respect what he riffed on, and that's totally true. And that what's cool about opinions is like yours doesn't need to affect anyone else's. I like mine. I also like Landon's, and I totally respect yours, Clovis. So that's cool.
Sorry, can I ask
yeah.
one thing? Because I'm just super curious, and I don't really have a real opinion on it.
Yeah.
Did you like Birdman?
Sure.
Oh.
That's a good question. Okay. It's with a caveat. I absolutely did, but I don't think I would if I weren't a filmmaker. And I know that I could feel it pulling at just the filmmaker stuff in me.
So you like it from a technical perspective?
Not from a technical perspective. In fact, I thought that they played with the one-shot mechanic as Star Wars plays with space. Like, it's in space, and there are sounds and fire, and who gives a shit it's in space? Like, it didn't try to pretend that it was Alfonso Cuarón making, like, this beautiful, perfect one-shot. The camera was flying all over and going up and down, and we all kind of knew it wasn't, and the filmmakers knew we knew that wasn't all just one take. And it felt, like I said, like Star Wars playing with space versus, 2001 playing with space, where it's silent and 35 minutes of one shot. Like, there are different feelings. And I respected that. It made me feel good that it wasn't this pompous, dickish, like, look, I did everything in one shot. No. We get it. Sometimes the camera changed stock. Sometimes it was a digital camera. Like, they went out on the roof and all of a sudden it's a digital camera. That's fine. But what I really liked was the expression of story over time, and the performances were fucking incredible. Like, fucking incredible. I didn't really care for the story, and I thought the ending sucked. But as a filmmaker, I was seeing a lot of go in there, a lot of really powerful stuff happening. So I don't think if I'd seen it cold, not as a filmmaker, I probably wouldn't. I wouldn't like it as much. I think I would have been paying a lot of attention to story, and been like, oh, that's kind of not climactic and nothing really important and no statement
I think
really
like
made.
even just being like a creative person, because like I don't make films. I know you guys who do, and like when I watched it, that's what spoke to me a lot about it, is just that like it seemed like something that a bunch of people worked really hard to try to make something special, right?
Yeah. It super did, and I can't walk away from that going, well, that was shit because I didn't like every part of the story. No, it was super obvious. Ian Adea said he loved Birdman, but it's entirely a film made for people who have at least studied film. I totally agree. It's a film where if you're a maker, you get, oh yeah, they did a thing. I don't know if you get that. Like I was showing yesterday, we're talking about doing a commercial for a game that we can't talk about yet, or the commercial we can't talk about. The game we can talk about, but just not related to the commercial because that would give it away. But we were talking about doing a commercial, and one of the things we were pitching was this one-shot thing, like in Children of Men. And what was interesting is two things. First off, a couple in our ranks didn't know that was a one-shot scene because they were busy being concerned with the really important story shit happening in that scene. The second thing is the client, an amazing game maker, didn't give a shit Gave zero shits. They were like, you know, it'd be cool if we just kept cutting the game footage and do this other stuff. And it was totally, he was right. That would be cool because he doesn't give a shit about the one-shot artistry of the one thing because he wants to see information delivered in a certain way, just like some people do. So in Birdman, I wonder if you did that in cuts. Not a ton of cuts, not action MTV whatever cuts, but just dramatic Kenneth Branagh cuts. If he did that, if anybody would care.
Well, I can like Mad Max. I knew a couple people who have watched it with who have not they don't have real overwhelming opinions of it. They're like, well, yeah, that was fucking great, that was cool, but they're people who like story.
Yeah.
And like I really couldn't argue. I was like,
Oh.
no, you're absolutely right. I was like, there are
Go over
so
there,
many
and then
fucking holes in
halfway
the
you
story.
can't come back. And
Yeah, like
some stuff. Yeah.
But yeah, like so I had to like try to explain like, well, you know, it was like a 24-hour period. It kind of knocked into the world of it. Nobody has any time to really go into like depth about what their history is and all of that shit. It was just people like thrown into chaos and trying to make something out of it. But yeah, I mean, even though like most of us are like, bah, but we know it's really because of the technical spectacle of it is again like another kind of filmmaker's wet dream. But that at least keeps people entertained when the story lacks. That there's a shit ton of things exploding in front of your face.
Totally.
Monster trucks driving around the desert. So
Yeah, which is awesome. So by the way, go see Mad Max 3 times if you haven't.
at least.
At least 3 times. It's important. I've seen it 6.
I opted to see Pitch Perfect 2 instead of seeing Mad Max.
Why is it exclusive? You can see both. I've seen Pitch Perfect 2. Flula's in it, and he's amazing. He's the
Flula
best
is
fucking thing in that movie.
Frula.
We both did the same.
He's the I poop
A
parties.
poop at parties.
Yeah.
He's that guy.
Okay, so anyway, we're talking about nothing. Okay. Oh wait. Close 15. Follow-up question. How do you feel about Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon? Same reaction or different? Exact same reaction. I'm sorry. Blood Dragon was shit. It made fun of everything, and the fact that they paid poor Michael Biehn to come in and make fun of his shit was the worst. Because Michael Biehn, he's a good actor, Unforgiving. I'm sorry, not Unforgiving. Tombstone, he's amazing, and he's a good actor, deserves good work. I'm shocked and stunned that. I mean, I'm not shocked and stunned. Dude needs a job. Like, he's still probably living off of residuals of Terminator, but you offer some dude whatever 30 grand, come in for 2 days of talking. You take the job. You take the 30 grand and you go talk.
Right now?
Michael Biehn, he was in a game called Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. It was a mod for Far Cry 3 that came out of its own game. But yeah, no, it's it just felt cheesy. It felt like it was, hey guys, remember the 80s? Because I sure do. And there's a beautiful, like, I'm into Outrun core music, and I'm into like neo new wave.
Over there, by the way?
Pardon?
Are you melting?
It'll go away. I will be. I could be naked. I'll be melting. We'd have to close the window.
Like,
and
I'm
it's
in a
be
dress
messy.
and I'm melting, so I figured you'd
Outrun
Anyways,
core?
carry on.
So, yeah, it's music inspired by the music of Outrun.
great.
It's really cool. It is great, and I genuinely like it. It makes me feel nostalgic in all the right and most creative ways. Starr Mazer, the music in Starr, everything. Starr Mazer is because of that love of nostalgia. So I'm super tied to it. When somebody takes it and just poops all over it, for fun, because it's fun, because you guys get it, remember? Like, that's not... Every generation was fucking shitty. Every single one. Look at the clothes in the 70s. It was shitty. But to somebody, it's super nostalgic. To somebody, when I was in high school, for whatever reason, they had cycled around. And everybody wanted to wear bell bottoms when I was in high school.
all back
And it was like,
again,
what the
too.
fuck are you doing with the bell bottom? They looked ridiculous then. They look ridiculous now. But there's always going to be that guy or that girl saying, but do you remember? Oh my God. And I don't think that's how you should experience the glory of those times. The 70s had some really great art. The 60s had some really great art.
70s movies are the
70s
scariest.
movies
to me.
are so
they're,
good.
They're terrifying.
Because they're so, like, raw.
Right,
Like,
but everything in it would be like, I mean, you look at it and you compare it today, most films now, I'm like, why isn't this more scary when we, but it's because everybody, again, it's like, well, we don't need that many people, we can CGI the fuck out of it, versus like it being, some odd 100 people coming together and
like working their asses off.
Yeah, I feel like
asses
it's
off.
gotten worse
Yeah.
because, like, as a medium gets bigger and bigger, there's more and more shit that was already successful to entirely base your thing on.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, I think I look at
Mad Max, John Wick.
I look at Kung Fury effectively as Pixels, that movie coming out, which is like, guys, you remember Pac-Man? We own the rights. We're gonna put an Adam Sandler movie out.
I'm so
excited for how
sorry
bad
for
that
anybody who likes Adam Sandler. I would
I'm with you.
I
Landon.
want to out this window. I will go right out the fucking window. Anyway.
Yeah. So Cerberus says, I just want the Fate of Atlantis feel of going all around Holloway Exeter Station looking for items to go to this. They give you something, it goes to this. And that's going to happen. And that's something we really want. I would, on Tuesday, we'll probably talk about it, but we do have a thing in Starr Mazer where our puzzles are not gate and key puzzles. They're puzzles. They're environmental and moment puzzles. Most adventure games have gate and key puzzles, which is go over there, get a thing, go to this person, trade that thing for the other thing. Go. We're trying to avoid gate and key puzzles because they get really boring. That's why, remember when I talked to you about what I wanted to do with Starr Mazer was make a game that had all the cool parts but didn't have the shitty parts? In a lot of adventure games, the shitty parts are walking around trading a hunk of meat for a rat's nest, for a whatever, for a key that turns out you have to combine with a stick of gum. You then have to trade for a voodoo doll that you then have to use to scare a snake. It's all these sort of, this weird Rube Goldberg door puzzles. Anyway. But yeah, exploration is going to be there, and our puzzles will be very cool. But we're not here to talk about Starr Mazer.
Sorry, I was just
Go
going to
ahead,
say, the gate and key thing, I feel like it's super lame because, like, games never do it right. It's like you get the key, you go back, you open the gate. Like, I think it would be a lot more interesting if it was like you get the key, and you're always close to the gate, and it feels like you're going to get there. But stuff keeps screwing up, and you lose the key, and then you find it again, and when you finally open the gate, it's like not just a gate and key puzzle anymore. It was a struggle, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's a cool permutation of gate and key. But yeah, so let's get back to Duck Game. I think we're gonna play it. Do we have any further questions about Duck Game? And do you have any further comments about Duck Game that we can throw out into the universe since you're our exclusive guest today?
Mostly I'm just focusing on getting patches out. I can't think of anything in particular that I'd want to say. I think I'm just I'm excited to be here. I'm glad everybody likes the game. Like, if anybody has any questions, definitely ask because I'd love to answer them.
Awesome. So we'll assume that you'll stick around in the chat while we play the game.
Oh yeah,
right?
definitely.
That's the thing. Cool. So we're gonna go down for 5, guys. I'm gonna change the lighting profile. The sun is killing everything. We're also gonna crack out some dew shine, and we're gonna load up the game. And we'll see you guys in, let's put 5 minutes on the clock.
Cool.
See you in
5
5
minutes. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Landon, for talking to us. That was
See you
awesome.
guys.
Landon.